Week 2, VLab 1. If you're following along in your lab book, that's going to be Lab 3, Configuring BitLocker and Windows Encryption. I'm already on the VLab 1 page, so here are the instructions. Go through them, make sure you understand kind of what you're going to be doing for this lab. When you're ready to start, go ahead and click Start Assessment. Just in case you didn't get them on the last page, they're right here. Also, pay attention to the submission requirements. These are what you're going to be being required to furnish in your report. Screenshots and certain questions. Go ahead and go through them. Make sure that you understand what you are needing to do to turn it in. When you're ready to access your VLab, go ahead and click on Access VLab. I'm doing this in Chrome, first and foremost. Second, you may get a Java or two pop up. Go ahead and allow both of them. I've had numerous complaints this week with the first lab about the screen being an odd size. So hopefully that won't... actually, hopefully it does happen so that I can show ways to fix that, assuming we can fix it. With the prepping of your lab, it has been kind of slow this week, so just be patient. I'm going to go ahead and pause it and let the lab fully load. I've noticed sometimes it takes 15-20 minutes, so just have to be patient. So my screen loaded in full size. There is no way to control the screen size. What I have noticed is if it's small when you log in, it's because the actual session connector didn't fully load correctly. Just exit out of everything and give it another try. I've noticed that the first time and second time it doesn't always work. I've also noticed that if you're doing this during business hours during the day, you may end up with slower response times. It's just kind of what it is. I've also noticed that as more students are on it, the system gets slightly overloaded, so they actually start displaying smaller and smaller displays because it's less and less bandwidth. So I wanted to put that out there. So, step 1, I'm not going to do step by step because step 1 is you guys setting up your lab deliverable file. You guys can figure out how to do that. I'm going to do part 1, configuring Microsoft Encryption file system. So first thing we're doing is we're going to go to RDP. We're going to go ahead and open up our target window 01 RDP session. It's really funny because when I looked at this lab, I've noticed that this is the same lab that you should have done in your associates when you did your client server 1 class, your Windows 7/server course. This was one of the labs that was in there. Second thing that I noticed was, you notice it didn't prompt you to log in. Go ahead and close the FileZilla server. Go ahead and click, just exit out of it. If you have the message for the sharing, don't share the computer. That's fine for now. To make sure all of our lab settings are set up correctly, we're going to run this run me. So go ahead and select it, right click, run it with Powershell. It is always amazing when you are decent with or proficient with this lab material. You should actually have found other ways to do this. For example, when you logged in as the user, the actual system could have probably pre-ran that script so that we wouldn't have to. So we ran this because we're logged in as administrator. That's why we actually didn't get prompted to enter credentials, because they wanted us to log in as an administrator so that we could do that without giving us the administrator password for the servers. It's just a weird way of doing things. But the instructions say to go ahead and exit out of our RDP session. We're going to go back to the same RDP session and we're going to edit the connection. Again, a weird way of doing things. After these courses, you should be kind of going, hey, you could have actually been doing it a different way. So when you get used to going through this material, you could do things like, I don't know, creating a second RDP connector, calling it target Windows 01 - administrator. You could have a second one, target Windows 01 - SFS user. That way we don't have to include these steps. That way it's all pre-done for you. As an administrator, when I manage servers, that's what I do. Normally, I never save credentials, but I do have them auto-populate specific users, depending on the workstation that I'm using. It just makes things easier as an administrator. So, once we already have this, you notice we cannot edit the username, so we're going to go ahead and click on Edit. Choose another account, and we're going to type in sfuser 01 at Secure Labs on Demand.com. Put the appropriate password, which is password 0 RD exclamation mark. Just double check you're doing the appropriate password. Go and click OK. Go and click on Connect. That should auto connect you with that appropriate user. Again, not the best way to do this, but that's how the lab instructions have us do it. When you first log in, you'll notice you get FileZilla server pop-up. Just go ahead and close it out. You'll get the server manager dashboard. Just go ahead and close that out. So now we can just see the desktop. We want to browse to C drive, or to this computer, then a C drive, doesn't really matter. We can do that by going to any folder, this computer, and then we want to go to the local C drive of our RDP session. So local C drive, we're going to navigate to users, we're going to navigate to sfuser01, navigate to documents. Again, this is a weird way to do it, but this is how our instructions are saying to do it. So we're going to go ahead and be setting up a secured file in our documents. Right click, new, we're going to do a text document, do your name, underscore SF file. I'm doing Jesse just because Jesse's been our lab student in our lab document. So once you're done with that, let's go ahead and open it up. Let's go ahead and type in this is a test to verify encryption functionality. And I can type, I really can. My keyboard is new, so still getting adjusted to it. Mechanical keyboards, they're nice, but they are different. Go ahead and save it. And now we're going to go ahead and edit the properties for our documents folder. So let's go ahead and go back up one folder to SF users. Again, not the best way to do this, but they want us to encrypt the entire documents folder. So right click, properties, we're going to go to advanced, we're going to select encrypt content of the secure data, go and click OK, go and click OK. Do you want to apply it to this folder only or to all subfolders and files? we want to apply it to all subfolders and files, so yes. It will actually then change the color to green. Green means encrypt, blue means compress, black just means normal. And if you go back in there, you should have Jesse SF file also in green. We can still read it if you open it because we have the certificate to read it. So normally this is the part in the lab where you would delete your certificate so that we can verify that it's still encrypted, but we don't have the certificate to decrypt it. But our lab actually wants us to close everything, re-edit the target connector. We're going to edit it, so we're going to log in as SF user 02. Sorry about that, my scroll started acting really funky. SF user 02 at securelabsondemand.com. They could have made that name so much easier. Type in the appropriate password and go ahead and connect. They also could have just had a third RDP connector there, but yeah. Go ahead and close any of the pop-ups that you get. Let's go ahead and navigate back to a computer. Oh, there it is. File server. Go ahead and close out of it. You can open up any folder. It will open up Explorer. Go to this computer. We're going to navigate to C drive. We're going to navigate to users. Navigate to SF user 01. You don't have the correct permissions. That is okay. Go ahead and click on continue. Because SF02 is a member of the local administrator group, you have the ability to view their files. You're going to see that documents is still green, it's still encrypted. And now try opening up this is FS01's document. No access is allowed because we don't have the encryption key. We can see it, we just can't do anything with it. We could have done the same thing with one user. It just kind of depends how we're doing this. So let's go ahead and close out of everything. So the lab instructions right here are not very clear. We're logged in still as SF user 02. It never says to log off for part 3, configuring BitLocker. So I'm going to make the assumption that we are supposed to still be under SF user 02, since our lab instructions do not give us any clear indication. Let's go ahead and open up Server Manager. Server Manager, with normally with Server, it's the icon right next to the Start button. That's just how it always is. So from here we're going to navigate to File and Storage Service. Here we should actually be able to see all of our disks, our volumes, our resources. It actually wants us to go to volumes. You should see that we have our volumes. Go to disks. We should see that we have two additional, well, we have our disk 0, that's the one that has Windows on it. We also have disk 1, which is a 10 gig file with no partition. So that's the one that we're going to actually be bringing online and creating a new volume to. So select it, right click, new volume, and it will just do your, before you begin, read through it just so that you know kind of what this is. Next, are we doing a cluster? Are we doing a non-cluster? For the most part, we're just keeping the basics. If we had additional disks that we wanted to bring online or that we just added, we could rescan or refresh depending on what we're doing. We're just going to choose next. This will bring on the disk. It will initialize it, and then it will set it to GPT. That's okay. What size do we want it? Leave it the default size. We want it to assign it to drive letter E. We want it to do an NTSF file system. It does not tell us what to name the volume, so we can just leave it. But if you wanted to, we could actually change the name. Next, review our settings, and when you are done, go ahead and click on Create. It will create our new disk. It will format. It will set up all of the information that we need in order for us to use it. So now it's online. It's using GPT, and once you've seen that, we are ready to go. Alright, so once that's happened, go ahead and exit out of it. Let's go to our computer just so that we can verify, and we have our new volume. New volume E. It's no spaces used or anything, so that's exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and close out of it. Let's go ahead and load PowerShell. You can start, type in PowerShell. You can also just right click on the start button, find PowerShell in here if it's there, which they did not bookmark PowerShell here. So let's go ahead and go back to start, back to PowerShell. Go ahead and right click on it, and we want to run it as an administrator. You'll get a UAC pop-up. Yes, we are sure we want to load PowerShell, and yes, we do. We want to run it with administrator rights. You can also have loaded it right down here because that's PowerShell is also mounted down there. So once PowerShell opens, we're going to do add Windows feature BitLocker space dash include all sub-features space another dash include management tools dash restart. So instead of doing this just through the GUI, we're doing it through our command line. So it should be add hyphen Windows feature space BitLocker space include all sub-features space hyphen include management tools space restart. Now if everything worked correctly, hit enter, and it should actually load. May have to enter a few times, but there it goes. You'll get the actual installation, and it should install fairly quickly. We will install BitLocker, and it will close the remote connection. It's currently in the process of restarting, so what will end up happening is we don't see on the back end that that virtual machine is restarting, so the instructions say to give it a minute or two, or up to 5 minutes, while that virtual machine is restarting before we can reconnect. Because if we try reconnecting right now, it's in the process of restarting, so it will not connect. So just be patient, give it a few minutes, and we will continue. Okay, so now it wants us to go ahead and connect back to it, but it wants us to connect back as administrator. Again, a very weird way to do this, but That's the way they want us to do it. So we're going to be logging in as administrator at securelabsondemand.com with the appropriate password, of course, and go ahead and connect. If you don't get a connection, just give it a little bit more time. Sometimes the server takes a minute or two to actually start, so or 5 minutes. So be patient. Close any pop-ups that you may get, and when you are done with all the pop-ups, go ahead and run our Powershell. So it's also down there. Here we're going to be setting up a correct service so that it will start up automatically. So we're going to type set service BDE SVC. That's the service that we want to start, which that's going to be our BitLocker. We want to do it space startup type. We want to set it to automatic. So I did startup type space automatic. Hit enter. So what happens if we fat finger that and we did no space? So it has to be startup type space automatic. So that's from here forward. So now let's go ahead and retype. Nope. I hit the wrong button, so I hit the up arrow. Let's delete all of that. Let's go ahead and start the service now, because in the future it will auto start, but we don't want to have to restart it again. So we're going to do start-service, type in the service name. So start-service space BDESVC, and that will go ahead and start the service. Again, we could have done that other ways. This is just one way of doing it. So now let's go ahead and create our BitLocker mount points. So we're going to go ahead and enable BitLocker space hyphen mount point space E colon, oh. We have to make sure mount point space quotations the drive letter E colon in quotation. That will set the mount point for a BitLocker space encryption method we're going to set it to AES 256 space hyphen used space only. That way it will only encrypt the use space space hyphen recover repassword protect. So enable BitLocker space hyphen mount point space the drive letter. We're encrypting it using the method AES256 space used space only. That will verify it's only being done on the used space space hyphen recovery password protector. Go ahead and hit enter. As long as we didn't fat finger anything, it should work. So did not like one of the commands, so let's go ahead and up arrow that, and let's double check all of it. Oh, that's because I misspelled BitLocker and I put it BitLocker. Let's make sure that T is there. Hit enter again. Give it a second, let it think. And there we go. Here is going to be our recovery password. If anything ever happens, we need this digit password to decrypt any data. Because we said recovery password protector, it will give us a backdoor number for us to decrypt our data just in case. It wants us to go ahead and open up Notepad so that we can make sure to copy over the appropriate text. Oh, that's my YouTube channel, not what I wanted. Highlight the appropriate text. Control C. Oh, it does not like that at all. So let's go ahead and type it out. 148-082-4965-84-515-933-1. Oh. Make sure not to fat finger this. This one you do not want to lose. You want to make sure that you have it. This one's super critical and super important that it is not transposed or messed up in any way. One, 2, 8, 5, 4, 6. So go back and verify 148-082 4965 84 51 59 33 19 56 57 30 5305 15 68 60 28 87 06 12 85 46, and we are good. Once you've verified it, we're going to go ahead and save it. We're going to save it to our desktop, and we are going to name it your name underscore BitLocker key. Go ahead and click on save. Again, save it as your name, not Jesse. And go ahead and type shutdown R space F space -T space 0. That will force a restart. The F is so that it's forced. The T is for time. The 0 is for how many seconds you want to wait. Go ahead and hit enter, and it will force a restart. Give it 2 to 5 minutes, and try reconnecting. Okay, that should have been long enough. Let's go ahead and go back to our target VM. Make sure we're logging in as administrator. So if you need to edit it again, go ahead. So what we're going to notice is, if we go to computer, our E drive should now be encrypted. It will ask for our unique ID. Go ahead and close any of the pop-ups that you may get, like file server. Let's go ahead and open up our BitLocker key. I don't want to retype it out, so I will just copy it. Go back to our E drive and go ahead and paste it. As long as we recorded it correctly, go ahead and click on unlock, and it will be unlocked. and now we can access it. If we want to relock it, we can just restart, because right now it's currently unlocked. But if you right click, you can also go to Manage BitLocker, and we can turn it on, turn it off. We can set up backup passwords, backup passphrases. We can turn on things like auto unlock versus having to manually unlock it. We have several things that we can do. So BitLocker is a great technology. The problem is, if you lose your key, it is not that easy to recover. And that is actually the end of this lab. Thank you.